All right, here we go. We are on week 6. I can't believe we're on week 6 already. We are halfway through the whole series about investments, about beginning investments, and I hope that you're getting some value from it. And I really, really hope and pray that you are downloading the field guides and the free info that we have because they really will help you out when it comes to the numbers and the buy box and all that other good stuff about what you want to do when you're buying your investments. So this week, here it is. Can you safely buy this deal? And I feel like I'm kind of beating a drum on this one. And I know we talked about what is your strategy, what is the buy box, what are the numbers, what is the rehab cost, and we really want to talk about due diligence. So in North Carolina, we have this period in real estate called due diligence. We take earnest money, we split it into two, and we do part of it up front, money-wise, and we do part of it after we've inspected some things. And so when we're talking about investments, it's slightly different than just regular real estate. So when we talk about due diligence, we talk about, first of all, the title. That's true with any purchase of real estate, but we want to talk about, are there any mechanic liens? Are we behind in any of our taxes? How much do we owe in those taxes? Are there multiple people that need to sign off on this thing? That is a huge one in investment properties. We have brothers and sisters and cousins and aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews and all of their spouses that need to sign off on this thing. And we want to make sure that we know that number, know who it is, and are any one of them going to slow down or stop this deal, right? Because that time is money. And we want to do our due diligence with it. So we want to do just a title search. We want to do a couple of extra search things, and we want to make sure we know that property line. We do not want to assume it. All of these things happen before we close. Okay. We want to make sure, whoops, I just messed up my notes. We want to make sure that we do an inspection, but not the standard general inspection. We want an actual GC in there to really, really dig in and dive in, crawl underneath that house, give us some really exact things that are wrong. A general inspector is going to give you, I think this might be wrong, get it checked out. We're going to bypass that step when it comes to investments. We're going to go straight to the GC, straight to the contractor. We're going to ask them point blank, what does this mean? Okay. We also want to talk about our zoning, right? So sometimes we want to build a separate garage, but we want to put an apartment above that garage. Is that allowed in where you're buying? Is that allowed in the zoning? If not, can you get it approved? If so, how long does that take? Being able to talk to the zoning board within wherever it is that you're buying is extremely important. They're not as scary as you think. They're actually really nice, just people like you and me, but we want to be able to talk to them. We want to be able to find out our what we want to do with this. Is it possible to do? We also want to dig into that HOA if there is one. Okay. And if there's not, what are the city requirements? It matters. All of it matters. So we want to know, if we put up a fence, what type of fence are we going to put up? What's legal? What's allowed? Do I have to get it approved? How long does that take to get it approved? These are all things that we want to know before we close. Before we close, okay? If there is any issue with the property, even though you may have put a few $100s into it, or maybe $1,000 or $2 into it, it's way, way better than losing $50,000, right? So if it means walking away, we've got to be able to know, what is the breaking point? What are we able to do? What's really wrong? Like, we need to know, is this electric? It looks like from the panel box that this is really, really outdated, does that mean none of it has been redone? Have there any permits that have been pulled on this property? Is there an extra bathroom in this that never was permitted? How do we know it's done right? Are we able to break down any of these walls and look at the electric, at the plumbing? Are we able to do some of this? So we want to be able to do all of those inspections before we get to the closing table. I got to figure out where my notes are. We'll start here. So there's a lot of little pieces that can pull us away from this property. It may look great on paper. But maybe there's something in there. Maybe there's an electrical problem or a plumbing problem that, let's say that bathroom isn't permitted and it was done 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's not grandfathered in. So how do we know, like when you go to sell it, you're going to be responsible for that. Yes, you are. So what do we need to do with that thing? Are we going to have to rip it all apart? Is that going to change our rehab by $15,000, $20,000? Ripping it out and then putting a new one back in because it was never permitted? So are there any judgments? Is there an easement on the property? This is a big one, especially within the city. There's usually an easement or two through the middle of a neighborhood where a river might have been or a creek bed might have been, and the city just put in a drainage system. Does that mean the city can go into your yard at any time and if they want to and dig that all back up and redo it? That's a big deal, especially when you go to resell it. These are things that are going to hinder your resale price, your ARV, right? So we want to get a survey done. We want an actual GC, maybe even a plumber or an electrician coming in and looking at this, right? I got a couple of good stories for you today. So, are there any encroachments? Has the neighbor had his fence over 1.5 feet for the last 25 years? And now you do a survey and you realize his fence is in the property you want to buy? Is this going to be a problem? Go talk to the neighbor. Let's see what's going on there. Let's see if they want to, cuss you out, or they're going to actually work with you. They're going to say that it's theirs and that changes the size of the property. This matters, right? And so another thing that we want to do, what can you legally do with zoning? So are you allowed to flip this thing? You might not be able to. It may look good on paper. It might look good within the ARV, and it may look good with the permits, but when you go to do it, the city goes or the zoning goes, nope, can't be flipping properties around here. And if you do, it's got to be a bulldoze and rebuild. That is pretty common. So if you're taking a ranch house that you're buying for, let's say you're buying it for 200,000 and you want to update it and sell it for 400,000, are you allowed to do that with the city? If it's a 1900 house, you may not be allowed to. They may request or require you to bulldoze that and rebuild something that's 700,000 and above. We have a township not far from here in Charlotte that's doing that right now. And so it's a hot spot for out of state investors, and yet not a good place to flip. So, and if you don't know that, you go to buy something and you close on it, then you go to flip it and you can't. So now what, right? So you want to be able to check that zoning. Can we add a bedroom? Can we finish out a basement? Can we add a second story? Can we do an ADU, which is what I talked about with the apartment above the garage? Can we take that detached garage and turn it into an apartment? Are we allowed to do that? So you need to talk to zoning and find out exactly what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. And then we want to talk about financing a little bit today because this can make or break you. We want to make sure that when you're looking at your buy box and you're looking at your finances, that first of all, when you're doing a rehab, I know I touched on this last week, but when you're doing the rehab, you want to make sure that you have a cushion. I like about 15%. Let's say the rehab's 50,000. Well, I'm going to add 15% of that, an additional 7,500 or $10,000 to that rehab. And if I don't use it, chef's kiss. But if I have to, it's there and my numbers aren't messed up. So I want to be able to do that. I want to have that. Like, what if there's a delay? How does that affect your financing? What kind of financing are you going to have? Are you going to do hard money? Are you going to do private money? Are you going to do cash? Are you going to do just a conventional loan? Now, there's a couple of stipulations with these things, and they all have their own requirements. So you really want to dig into what those are. The next 7 weeks, we're going to get into some of those details. Ideally, we're going to talk to some mortgage people and be able to bring some more information to you about all that. I do a lot of real estate, but I am not a mortgage person. But there are nuances with each one. When it comes to like a conventional loan, there's a lot right now with conventional loans that you can get the loan for the price of the house, have the monies with the rehab, but then you need to stay in that house a certain amount of time. What is that time frame? What does that need to look like? And what is the down payment for that? Sometimes they're a little bit higher. Sometimes they're 20%. What are the reserves that each loan option are requiring? What's the reserves that you have to have in the bank when you close? Like I went to go close on a property and they wanted a year of reserves for me. Well, that wasn't going to be the best situation for me. It was going to eat up all my rehab monies. And so we didn't want that much reserve. So I walked away from it. I still think about that house. It was a cute as heck house. And I was going to stay in it for the next year to 2 years while I redid it. And then I was going to sell it, right? It was in a really hot area and I really, really wanted to get it for myself. And I needed too much sitting in the bank. I could have almost paid cash for the whole thing with the amount of money that they wanted for me to sit in the bank and the down payment and the close, like all of it was too much for me. So we want to look at those finances. What are the nuances for each one? All of this can be written down in your buy box, right? So if you've gotten your free field guide with the buy box in it, I believe that was 2 weeks ago. So if this is week 6, that was week 4. Those are free. Those are giveaways. Just go ahead and grab the free stuff. What is your walk away? Like, what is it that's gonna force you to say, you know what? Yes, I've got $2,000 in this, but if I walk away now and not close and walk away from the deal, I save myself 25,000, 50,000. The thought that I can't resell this thing, it matters. So if you're wanting to flip a property, but the township is forcing you to, if you find out a bathroom wasn't permitted after you close and the town is saying, hey, you're responsible for that, you're going to have to rip all that out and put it back in, which then blows your budget out of the water. Now you're going to lose $25,000, $35,000 on this deal instead of making anything. Oh, I'm going to try and get away with it. I've had some investors try and do that. They're like, well, we're just going to get away with it. Not under my watch because that now affects my license. So I can't legally say, hey, this is permitted, but it really wasn't. I can't do that. And the township and the new buyers do not look too kindly on that, believe me. So walking away isn't failure, it's a discipline, right? It's investment 101. It's a huge difference between the new emotional investor and the investor with some experience and high emotional discipline, right? Everything may line up, but I'm just gonna look the other way at this red flag. It's kind of like you're dating, right? I'm not gonna look the other way at the red flag. No, no, no. Don't look away. Look square at it. Does this make sense for you or not. So from my perspective, a property that you choose to not buy because of the inspections or because of the zoning or maybe the finance isn't just quite right, um, you're doing a lot better by walking away if it doesn't make sense. This is why the first 5 weeks of this series has all been about knowing your numbers, knowing your strategy. Like, what is your investment strategy? Are we commercial? Are we residential? Are we multifamily? Like, what are we doing? Know before you even start looking. Okay. You don't want to go looking when you don't know your investment strategy. And then of course, you want to buy, you want to know your numbers. And then once you got all that down, you find the property, it looks really good. Know your zoning, get your GC in there, get your plumber in there, licensed plumber, get your electrician in there. They're going to give you the truth more so than anybody else, and especially more than your own emotions. Okay. So, I want to look at our time. I feel like the last 2 weeks have gone a little long. So I'm about to go a little long. The takeaways, do your due diligence. Everything I just said. I'm gonna suggest getting my field guide. The link is below. Hit the subscribe button because I've got in the next 6 weeks, so 7 through 12, we're going to go visit some properties. We're going to look at those things. We're going to say what works, what doesn't. And it might surprise you what I'd be willing to walk away from and what I'm not willing to walk away from. So a lot of times what seems like, oh my gosh, this is huge, I'm going to walk away from this, isn't such a big deal. And then sometimes where you think, it's not such a big deal, I'm going to turn around on that red flag, don't walk away, run, right? So we're going to show you some of that. We're going to go visit some properties. That'll be fun. So I've put together the first 6 weeks. You can now, when you get your freebie, you'll be able to sign up for a class to be able to have all of the field guides, all of the extra documents, all of the videos, and then extra stuff that we've got going on, some behind the scenes things. Okay, so check that out. That'll come to you when you sign up for this. I think I'm giving you a couple of different examples, but one of them in a township not far from here was I had a buyer that really wanted this property, and he wanted to flip it, and I was going to kind of be in charge of the whole deal. And when we went in there and started doing the inspections, a lot was wrong with this property. A lot. I had said run, and he said, no, I don't want to run. I want to get it. And I ended up helping him buy it. We ended up, after doing some GC inspections, one of the best things is I ended up negotiating further because that it was going to cost an additional $40,000 to $45,000 potentially. So we negotiated that thing down another $35,000. And then he was able to get it and do what he needed to do. So it all worked out. That was really good. But when you have somebody who's experienced, a good realtor that's experienced, then you're able to not make emotional decisions. You make logical, informed decisions based on what your goals and your strategies are and your numbers are, right? All right, so go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I am Pamela DeVrou, DeVrou Realty, and we will see you next time. Get your freebies down below. Talk to you soon.